All righty. All right. Oh, sorry. I just updated my computer. It's asking me to allow Google Chrome to do its thing. Bingo. All right. What do we have this week as far as the economic calendar? Let's see. All right. Tuesday, I'm sorry, Monday is saying that we don't have anything major, which I kind of assumed that. Uh, and then if we look at Tuesday, we have the election. So if you haven't already voted, go vote. I don't care who you vote for. But just go ahead, throw your bid in if that's what you want to do. Um, oh, they don't have any other information on there. But yeah, election day is Tuesday. So again, major day for the market. Honestly, in my opinion, I think that the market is going to move up regardless of who wins. I know that's kind of controversial because people have certain, people are have conspiracies on which way things are going to move based on their policies. But again, in my opinion, I think that the market is going to move up anyway. It's already been moving up. I don't think that whoever gets elected is automatically going to send the market on a downspin. Now, once we go into 2025, January, the first quarter of 2025, then I think that the whoever won the election will start to see their policies, take effect. But I don't think going into the end of the year, it's going to be anything too major. Again, we're going to have some volatility. Yes, we're going to, going into the end of the week, we could have a spike up, spike down. But I think, again, by the end of the year, everything would be still leveled out. We won't have any major crash or, people are saying the end of the world. It's like, yeah, no, I don't think anything crazy like that is going to happen. But Tuesday is the day that we've been waiting on for a while. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, what stories come out. The news cycle is going to be crazy. So just be expecting a lot tomorrow. Tomorrow, if you don't want to be bombarded with political news, stay away from social media and stay off the internet, because I think that's all we're going to see. And then we do have PMI services, which will kind of be an underthought because we have the election. So we still have that. But then Thursday, Fed interest rate decision. So we get to figure out if the Feds are going to increase rates. I'm sorry, I said increase rates. If they're going to cut rates by 0.25 or 0.5. Last time we got a 0.5, which was nice. But we also get to see right after the election results come out, give it a day break, we go right into the Feds. And then we get the Fed press conference at 2:00. So two major events happening this week. This is like, the election is we've been waiting all year for it. And then this Feds is always big for the market around the times that we have the interest rate decision. And then we also have the press conference. So around 2:00 Eastern Standard, just tune in from 2 to 3, just sit down and be ready to pay attention to the Feds, because they give you a lot of information on what they want to do moving forward. And you can see that the forecast is a 4.75. The prior is a 5. So it looks like, let me see, do we got any information? Nope, this is just generalized information. But it looks like we're going to get a 0.25. This is what people are predicting. 0.25 rate cut. But again, still don't know for sure. And then the Fed's press conference is going to be why and what we can expect them to be paying attention to for the next cut cycle. And then we have the Michigan consumer sentiment preliminary, which the forecast is 70, prior 70.5. I don't think this would be a major event, especially when we have the election and the Feds this week. So crazy week we have coming up, and it's every other day. So I think the only normal day we'll have is Monday. So if you're trading options, Monday is your normal day. If you're trading options and you're looking for volatility, Tuesday, Wednesday, because the results are actually going to settle in. And sometimes, there may be a recount, there may be in the results may not be fully certified until Friday, or how that works for people who have been paying attention to election cycles. Sometimes it's not unless it's a clear winner, it's not easily determined that night. And then you have some states that are a little bit behind, and so on and so forth. So this whole week is going to be crazy. I think Monday and Friday maybe are most normal days, but all the days in between are going to be pretty volatile. Do I have any questions? Let me take a sip of water here. All right, let me check the chat. No questions. Perfect. All right. Let's talk about the new things on TradingView. Let me delete this really quick. Don't want anything to take up too much. We can hide the ATR for a second. All right. So I've been and I can actually remove it. I'll show you how to add it for people that want to know. This is the normal. Actually, this isn't the normal. Let me show you. This is the normal. Well, let me reset it. It's my RSI. Take that off. All right. These are the normal settings for my indicators. Again, I have the RSI, normal candles. I do have a VRVP, MA ribbon. If you've been in these sessions for a while, you already know how they work. I don't have to go over all of that. The MACD and then the stochastics RSI. So I'm always a student. I'm always doing research. I'm always studying. And so I found a few things that I wanted to try that were different. And I think some of these things can help. I'm going to be trying them over the next month to see what results I can get. I'm already in a trade with Taiwan Semiconductor based on the new indicators. And we get to see this week. This is probably not a good week to judge, but we get to see if that trade goes well. I'm in a call for Taiwan Semiconductor. I want to say I got 205 as a strike based on my new indicator. So I just want to see what they're going to do. And if I want to add them or substitute them out for a few other indicators. All right, so we can start at the top. The first thing that I want to talk about is the divergence setting on the RSI. So on the RSI, you can, I don't even know how long they've had this, but I haven't tweaked my RSI in a minute, but they have this calculate divergence box that you can check on and off. And it calculates the divergence for you. Of course, you can probably spot some more divergences from an eye test, depending on how long you've been doing it. But cutting on the calculate divergence automation is actually pretty helpful. So the divergence is basically when the stock or the indicator is moving against how the stock is moving, right? So for instance, if we look where it says bear, we have bear divergence on the RSI. You can see the stock is actually going up. So when you spot a divergence, that means that the trend can be weakening to the other side, and then you can move or switch your position. So if you were in the SPY, let's say back here in this area around January of 24, and you were just coasting and you got up to this point of April. So you went from January at 466 to April at about 520. The RSI is telling you that there is bear divergence. There is bearish divergence on the RSI. So it's telling you like, hey, this is telling us that it's going to go down eventually. And you can see right after the bear divergence was spotted on the RSI, what happened? RSI went down, even though the stock was going up. So again, a divergence is basically the oscillator, which that's a technical term for the RSI, is going against the actual trend of the stock. Is everyone with me? Any questions so far? And Yvonne, I'm pretty sure you went over this with Sean at some point, right? I know Sean, if you've been in any of our crypto sessions, Sean goes in a lot of detail about divergences, continuing divergences, hidden divergences. But we're not going to cover all of that today because we do have some other things to talk about. Let me check the chat. David, yes, I'm with you. Perfect. All right. So that's the cool thing about the RSI that I just found out. You can cut on this calculate divergence, so it can kind of give you a warning of what's going on, and then you can figure out, how you want to proceed moving forward. So another thing, it can spot bullish divergences as well. You can see here bullish divergence, and then we had it catapult all the way up to about 80 on the RSI. So I'm going to leave it on. I'm going to see how good it is. Again, I'm just testing new things. I'm always a student, but yeah, so that's divergences. All right. And if you actually want a breakdown of what a divergences is in technical analysis and how to use it with trading, again, it talks about the divergence on the oscillator that I just pointed out. It also talks about the divergence on price. I'll go ahead and put this in the chat for you. For those that want to look at it, there you go. Just save that link. And then you said, how do you find it? So what you're going to do is just go to the settings on the RSI. You should have this calculate divergence button to toggle on. I had to update the indicator. There's a little update button next to the indicator letting me know that TradingView updated the indicator. So after I updated it, I checked it out and we had this calculate divergence. Again, if it's already been on here, I just didn't know because I don't tweak my RSI that often. But I think that this is definitely could be helpful. And we'll see how it is moving forward. All right. Let's talk about candles for a second. So I've been doing some studying on candles. And when you look at these candles, especially for my newer people, when you're looking at candles, it's kind of hard to get an idea of which way the candles are trending because you have so many red and green candles changing places, right? Like, for instance, from what, August 24th, from this candle down here at 511 all the way up to here, which is 583, it's been in an uptrend, but you do have a few downtrends happening in between, right? But it's kind of hard to spot these just by looking at it. It's good looking back and being able to see like, oh, okay, I look back in the past, I can kind of see the trends. But what I found is that we have a better choice for candles, especially if you're looking for trends. So these candles are calculated by using the open and close. Again, for those that don't know, these candles are just showing you this is the close, this is the open. If it's red, this is the open, this is the close. Again, still gets a little spotty, kind of hard to pay attention to. So what I have been trying now is Heikin-Ashi candles. So if you want to change your candle style, what you can do is you can click the little pull down here, and then you have all of these different types of candles, hollow candles, volume candles, so on and so forth. What you want to do is if you want to change your candles over, you can go down to Heikin-Ashi, and these candles are pretty much average candles. So look at this and look how clean it looks when I switch over to the Heikin-Ashi candles. Look how clean that looks compared to this. This is before, this is after. Before, after. Which one is easier to read in y'all's opinion? Which one looks easier to read?
I think for the Heikin-Ashi is very easy to read the trend, which way the trend is going. I was using that when I first started those candles. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so that's good. You're already good with these. I just started using it because I was pairing it with the ATR, the other indicator I'm going to show. Just trying out a few different things. But yeah, so these candles, like Yvonne said, way better. These are actually called the better candles. That's what people call them. So these candles are actually average trend candles. So you can see that it's not as choppy, and there aren't I don't think there are any gaps. Yeah, there's no gaps. So these are going to be showing you the trends. And so with these, I know before we talked about confirmation candles, right? So confirmation candles with these would be a little bit easier because these are actually these are set up for trends. So if you're looking for an uptrend after a downtrend, these are more easily accessible and easier to read. Like you can just click on the chart and look at it from a glance, you're good to go. You don't really have to, like, if you're looking at this, then you really may need to start drawing your support resistance, so on and so forth, because it's so choppy, so many gaps, it's so spotty. You look at these, there's just a lot of continuation. And then you can easily see that we have conjunction. We have a conjunction of candles here where everything is piling up. We also have an area here. We have an area here. Like it's easier to spot your support and resistance as well. So switching over to these candles is something that I'm trying. Another thing with these is that the wicks can tell you how strong the trend is to either side. So what you'll notice, let me zoom in. What you'll notice is that if you're looking at the green candles and they're trending to the upside, you don't see any wicks under the candle, right? This whole trend of green candles, you don't see any wicks. So anytime you see wicks on top of a green candle with no wick at the bottom, that means that the trend is ready to continue. Now, you start to see a wick at the bottom of a green candle, then that means that the trend is starting to slow. So like from this is the start of the trend. This would be a confirmation candle, and you can see there's no wicks until you start to get around your resistance level, and then you start getting wicks on these candles, and then guess what? It switches over to the downside. Now, the thing about the red candles is that when it's strengthening the trend to the downside, you're not going to see any wicks on top of the red candles, right? We don't see any wicks on the top of the red candles until they're about to switch green. So like you see a couple here because they're trying to figure out which way, but once they confirm the downtrend, we barely see any wicks on the top. And then when they switch over, you start to see a wick on the top, but then it just moves out of red into green. Pretty simple. It's going to take me a second to just switch my mind over from not seeing wicks. I'm so used to seeing wicks on both sides, but I think this is a cleaner representation of the chart. It's also calculated a little bit differently. Again, this is not saying that you won't have any down days. This is just saying that the trend is moving in the direction that you want it to. And it's kind of hard to be faked out by reading these candles. So again, as long as you have those wicks telling you that the trend is strengthening to either side, you should be good to go. So trying these new candles out. Again, if they work, I'm keeping them. If they don't, I'll switch back to this. That's kind of hard to look at. Switching back over from these candles. Do I have any questions? All righty. Cool. Do I have how can I see? I thought I had an article. Let me see. Oh, here we go. A better candlestick. This is the one. So this is Investopedia breakdown. I mean, if you're into formulas, they have that. If you're into like, how to actually read it, again, I just gave you a live example, but if you want a better representation of like how to do it versus a normal candlestick, this is a really good article. Again, looking at this is telling you that the long fill candles indicate a downtrend. So you got these long candles and they're filled, which your filled candles would be the red candles. And then the longer, the lower shadows indicate the buying pressure. So like I said, if you have these longer wicks, and let me zoom in. So can we see that? Yeah, that looks a lot better. But as long as you have these wicks, the longer the wick is, the more it's telling you that you have that downward pressure, right? And then you have these uptrend candles, which they call them hollow candles, which is just your green candles. The wicks to the upside is telling you that the strength of the uptrend is getting stronger and stronger the longer the wicks are. So, and then again, you have indecision like this, which is just going to be along the lines of your support and resistance. You can see we have resistance here, support there. But yeah, wanted to try something different, and I think that these candles could definitely help us with trend trading. And let me put this in the chat for you as well. Boom, there you go. All right, any questions? All right, let's keep it moving. All right, so we've covered the.
Can you go over the ATR?
Yep, that's the next thing. So the next thing that we're going to cover is the ATR. Let me go ahead and give you the article for that. ATR stands for your average true range. Again, something new for me. Put this in the chat here. Boom, you can get that. All right, ATR. I took it off of my indicator list, but the ATR again is the average true range. Here you go. Let me start that and add it to my indicator. All right, so the average, the ATR is pretty much just giving you, this is a volatility indicator. So it's telling you it goes up depending on the level of volatility that you experience in with the stock. So if the stock is extremely volatile, it's going to go up. The tricky part with the ATR is that it's not telling you the direction. It's only giving you a reading for volatility. So if you see something like this happening, that means it's either shooting up with a lot of volatility or it's shooting down with a lot of volatility, right? And you can see where the volatility increased, the stock actually dropped. It was dropping and then it was switching over to move to the upside. So from here to there, from this area, the top of this green candle to down here, the volatility peaked. It was down here and it rose here. So again, the ATR is not telling you which side is moving to, right? So the way that I've been studying the ATR is that you may want to trade it to the opposite side depending on your other indicators, right? So the ATR, and then I can tell you how to also plot your entries and exits depending on what's going on. So if you look at your MACD or if you look at your stochastics and things are low and your ATR is low, that means that when it increases in volatility, there's a chance that it could be going to the upside, right? Because if we look at the RSI is at 43. The stock is sitting on its support, sitting on heavy support. We already have the MACD in a downtrend, and then the stochastics, which is another style of a momentum indicator, is pretty much at 5. So that means if the stock wanted to drop, with some volatility, then this momentum indicator on the stochastics would be moving in a different direction. This stochastics would be up here around 80 to 100. But since my stochastics is low and my ATR is low, that means that my ATR, and you can see what happens. The ATR was down here and then it peaked up. Volatility peaked up once we settled around support. So we hit support, and then it was a smaller move than the day before. So it's starting to figure out if it wants to change trends. Another thing about the ATR is that when you're plotting your entry, you want to go to average ATR point. So if you go to a point like this, you can see that anytime the ATR drops below 5.5, we have a spike in volatility, right? So here, well, we're already going up, but let's see, right here we had a spike, here spike, and you're also going to have drops. Like volatility is not going to stay, right? You have a spike here, you have a spike down there, you're climbing, spike here. So we have another spike here. You can actually, if you wanted to, you can put it down here as well, because we have a lot of bounces. So you're paying attention to bounces on the ATR. Again, back here, we have a lot of bounces and volatility. So anytime a stock is starting to consolidate, you want to check that ATR, because after consolidation, the stock is going to go into a period of volatility. That's how the ATR works. So looking at the fact that the volatility was cooling down, it dropped into a notable range around 550. Again, you can go for a 5.0 to a 550 because that's what we're seeing. And now it's starting to pick back up. So what I'm going to be doing for the week is watching the ATR to see if we can get a bounce and what's going to happen. So again, nice place for the ATR to be since we're sitting right on top of support. Volatility could pick up, especially because of this week being election week, and we have the Fed speaking. So yeah, volatility on the ATR is going to pick up just from the events alone. Let me show you the TSM trade that I was looking at. So I'm looking at Taiwan Semiconductor. Let me reset the chart. I'm looking at Taiwan Semiconductor. When I look at the RSI, it is at 55. And again, you don't have to use all of these indicators. Some of these ATRs, I said ATRs. Some of these indicators, I'm going to swap out for the ATR because I don't believe in having 10 indicators. I don't think that's necessary, depending on my trade strategy. I would rather have, really, if I could only have the ATR, RSI, and candles, I would do that, but it's not that simple. Let me see. We have a question. How do you incorporate the blue lines on the ATR? So the blue lines. Oh, option H. Option H. If you're using a Mac, that is just for horizontal lines. And I'll say option V is for vertical. Yeah. Option H, option V is what I'm using to make those lines on the ATR. But yeah, so the trade that I was looking at on Taiwan Semiconductor, all right, so we got 55 on the RSI, and it's starting to bounce a little bit. Got a tick up, 55, and it's pointing up. That's what I like. Also, when you look at the pattern that it's forming, it is forming a very nice bullish flag that starts from 174, 175, ran up to about 205, 206. Came down to heavy support. So this support right here at about 190 is a really good support. You can see that this used to be a previous resistance back here, which held strong. So 190 looks really good. We got the cluster of candles here. We also had a false breakout, but a rejection back down here. We also had some trouble with 190 there. So it looks like the bounce back up to the upside on 190 could be taking us back up to anywhere between 200 to 205, because I do see an area here to where we have some resistance, but then we also have a stronger level of resistance here at about 205. So this is what I'm looking at. I was looking at this bull flag with the new Heikin-Ashi candles and playing the bounce off of the support to the upside. I also checked the MACD. The MACD wasn't what I wanted it to be. It was crossed over to the downside, which again, just pairing that with the ATR, I'm trying to figure out my way with those two. And then when you look at the stochastics, which is another type of momentum indicator, is really low. So that means that if it pops to the upside, we can go from, what is that, 5 on the stochastics. We have all the way up into 100 to go before we start to slow. And then when I check that ATR again, you're looking for average place for that ATR. And you can say right about here is one of the places that I was looking at. You can also look right about here. So I like to put 2 lines for right now because I'm just trying out the ATR to give myself a bounce range, not just a bounce line. But yeah, it looks like between 645 and 665 is where the ATR has been bouncing. You can see that once we got down here, or what is that? In September, we had a bounce. Once we got down here in October, we had a bounce. And then we're touching down late October, early November here for another bounce. So again, this is telling me that the volatility is drying up, but we can go to another level of high volatility after this bounce. So this is the trade that I set up. Everything looks decent. We have a bullish flag, 55 on the RSI. Stochastics is low. ATR is around the bounce zone. And I want to see where we go. So what I'm looking at doing on the ATR is once we get, I'm looking at a range of this area. Wait, here we go. This is the range that I'm looking at for the ATR. The reason why I'm looking at this range to the top side as far as volatility is because we have some bounces here. We have almost a bounce there. And then we have a rejection here for where volatility spiked and then it cooled off. So I think that we could get another spike that can land us within this range. And again, if we get a spike in volatility, it looked like that volatility should be to the upside because the stochastics is low. The MACD is already crossed over to the downside, so we may be getting a trend change to the upside. Also, we just got a green candle that we bounced off of support with, and we just need that next candle to be green as well. And it's forming a bull flag, and then that RSI is at 55 pointing up. So a lot a lot that's telling me that we could be setting up for a move to the upside. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on this trade, and we'll see how it goes. But that is the ATR. I'll have more information on the ATR next time. Again, it's still something that I'm studying, but I think that it can be extremely useful. I'm also hearing that it's pretty good on the 15 minutes. So for my day traders, I'm hearing that it's pretty good on the 15-minute. And again, the way that you would use it, same way. Find a average level to where the volatility is spiking, and you can see the volatility is actually getting shorter and shorter to where it spikes. And then you can find around a level to where it tops out on average, since this is your average true range. And then you can say, okay, cool. If my volatility on the 15-minute spikes from 0.98 up to 1.3, this could be my exit, right? And then you can see if I crunch it up, this looks even better now. You can see that the volatility is just bouncing around between these two ranges. That's why I say picking an average is fine, and just make sure you get out when the ATR is at a certain level. So I'll be testing this out with day trading as well in the bottom half of the week. And yeah, I'm excited to see what we can get. I may have some other indicators to add along with these, but the ATR right now has definitely piqued my interest. And this is one that I'm going to be watching. Do I have any questions?
LJ, I do have some input too. Can you pull down this indicator that I use? It's ATR versus DTR, and I can tell you who it's by. I think that helps you with the zones too, and it puts it on your chart automatically.
Nice.
It's by the Stratula something. If you type it in, ATR versus DTR, and then it says plus ADR zones with the plus sign.
Is it one word? Like, there we go. Like
there
that?
Yep, that's it right there.
All right. I'll check this one out.
If you put that on your chart, you may want to play around with that. It actually puts it on the chart.
Oh. Let me move this to the. So another new indicator. Move this to 1 day.
And I think it'll show you. It should show you the zones.
Why is my candles disappearing? I can't move it. Yeah, as soon as I move it,
you might have to play around because it's not showing like that on mine. Mine's actually showing a zone, and it'll have the daily.
Is it my normal candles?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see the zone on my.
But you should have like a line in it. It should
ATR
say like you're on TSM. So you go to TSM.
Okay. Yeah, it's not, for some reason, it's condensing my.
Yeah, play around with it because
I'll check it out.
It's not showing that on mine. Like it'll show me like the ATR is 6.37. The daily is 5.62, which is 88%. It helps a little bit more. So when you start playing around with that, you'll see it. But it comes on your chart and it'll show you the range. You don't have to guess.
Gotcha. Okay, perfect. And what's the DTR? That daily true range, or?
Yeah, I think it's daily true range and average true range.
And the ADR is the average daily range zone, right?
Average true range and daily true range. And
well, I mean the ADR plus the ADR zone. ADR is average daily range, right?
Yeah, we'll have to talk about
that. Yeah, we're figuring it out. I like this. Again, I've been trading one way for so long that I'm like, okay, let's see if there's anything else that can make it better. Now, I'm also running the risk of making my strategy worse, but I'm not using as much capital when it comes to setting up these styles of trades until I hammer it home like I have with my old strategy. But no, I have it on my chart. I'll be checking it out this week, and I will let you know for sure. I'm going to try to get it to work because I think that can definitely help with me not, like I said, figuring out the ranges. But all right, cool. I appreciate that, Yvonne. All right, any other questions like this? All right, cool. Let's look at some picks. All right, Taiwan Semiconductor was one that I just talked about with the ADR and the ATR. And let me see if I refresh this, it's going to take it off my chart. Nope. Okay. Yeah. So Taiwan Semiconductor. So we're talking about politics, right? We're talking about the election that's going to happen Tuesday. Taiwan Semiconductor would be the number one stock that I would be paying attention to. The reason why I would pay attention to Taiwan Semiconductor is because you have candidates that have different stances on Taiwan. If China takes Taiwan, that means we're going to have a lot of problems when it comes to semiconductors, when it comes to chips, so on and so forth. That's why the U.S. is up in arms when it comes to Taiwan, and we want Taiwan to remain neutral because Taiwan is a good trading partner with us and with a lot of our companies, Apple, Google, I want to say NVIDIA, Microsoft. You name it. Taiwan Semiconductor has influence in these different in these different companies. And if something was to happen to Taiwan Semiconductor, we got a global problem. So you have one candidate that's fine with China taking Taiwan, and then you have another candidate that's not. So depending on who wins, we could see some volatility in Taiwan Semiconductor. And based on how I set up the trade that I just hopped in, hopefully Taiwan Semiconductor is not impacted in a negative way. And it moves in the way that I think is going to move based on the ATR, the stochastics, and the bull flag that I see it forming. So Taiwan Semiconductor, number one, I would put a star by this one. If I know there's a lot of YouTubers, there's a lot of people on Instagram and Facebook, and Meta, all the other platforms that are talking about different stocks to pay attention to. In my opinion, this is the one. Taiwan, the main one. So yeah, Taiwan Semiconductor, again, I've already told you to play. I'm thinking that it's going back up to 200 to 205. I have a call set up for it. It looks great. Stochastics is really low, could be bouncing to the upside. It just bounced off of support here. The RSI is at 55. So if it does decide to make that move up to 205, that should land our daily RSI around about 65. Stochastics should be around 50 at that point, and the MACD could be getting ready to cross over. So if we run up against that 205 at some point this week, going into next week, we could see a new all-time high with Taiwan Semiconductor breaking into the 210, 215 area. So again, I chose this one first because this is the one that I think will receive the most damage or receive one of the biggest uptrends when it comes to the election. And then if this one moves, of course, you're going to see NVIDIA. Of course, you're going to see all the other stocks that I just said that are related to this company. They're going to move as well. So it's going to be market-wide impact. But I think that this company is probably the most important, if you ask me. Any questions on Taiwan Semiconductor?
Was you doing a swing in front? What's the strike price?
Yeah, my strike is 205. And I'm swinging, Yvonne. Swinging for 205. Does that help?
30 days enough?
Actually, what I set up was it expires this Friday. It was a weekly. Believe it or not, it was a weekly. Wow. Yeah, I saw the ATR being low, and I wanted to test that volatility on the ATR. So I set it up as a weekly. I may roll it tomorrow and set it for maybe get 3 weeks on it. But I set it up on the ATR as a weekly last week, just based on the ATR, just to test some stuff out. But yeah, if you're not using the ATR and you're not experimenting like me, 30 days would be nice, because then you could encapsulate that whole run if it breaks that 205 and starts to go into that 210, 215 range. Does that help you, Vaughn?
Yes, thank you.
No problem. All right, next one. NVIDIA. So NVIDIA is looking nice as well, and we're going to incorporate the ATR in this one. I'm going to try to use that as a secondary indicator. But right now, you can see that On the RSI, we have a 54, it's pointing up. And then if we look at the candles, we can see that it just hit its support. And this is a really heavy support area. You can see that we had rejections here, here, and here. And then now we're coming down and we could be getting another rejection back to the upside. If we don't get a rejection here, which again, this is a really strong support. If this doesn't hold, we're for sure going to get a rejection here at about 130. So it's a $5 gap. It's at 135 now. If we don't get a rejection at 135, we're guaranteed pretty much to get a rejection at about 130, moving us back to the upside. And then if we look at the MACD, the MACD did cross over to the downside. One thing I learned about the MACD is that once it's over this line right here, this is called your O line. Once it's over the O line, there's a higher chance that you can get a short signals for sell pressure and quicker, stronger signals for upwards pressure. So the opposite is true as well. Once it drops below, once the MACD goes below this O line, then you may have deeper sell pressure and you may have shorter buying pressure until it recovers back over that O line. So this is something that I'm still studying as well, the effects of this O line. But we do have a MACD crossover to the downside. I don't know how long that's going to happen. Again, if we get that spike back to the upside, we can be looking at just a short downtrend with another pop to the upside. So that's what I'm paying attention to. Also, the stochastics is pretty much on the ground. This is 1.34 out of 100. And I'm thinking that we could see a bounce back to the upside for the stochastics. Also, ATR, we talked about the ranges. Yvonne, I appreciate the tip. I'm going to use that so I don't have to make my ATR ranges this way, but it looks like this could be around the average. We could even bring it here at about 4.87. And then it looks like moving to the upside, we can have a 6.3. So if this turns around, actually, I take that back. This is the range for the bottom side. We got 4.87 up to 5.27. You can see that we had a bounce right here. We had a bounce right there. And then we could get another bounce here. So again, the ATR is not telling us in which direction the volatility is taking us, but our other indicators can guide us in telling us which way the ATR can take us. So if we get a bounce here, we're going back up to about 6.3. That means our ATR setup is actually working. But again, if you want to excuse the ATR as a secondary indicator, the other indicators are telling us that there's a chance that we could see a move to the upside. So that's what I'm locked in on for NVIDIA. Again, I'm thinking to the upside, we could see 140 to 145. 140 is going to be a choke point because if you look here, let me zoom in. So you can see we have a lot of chop on, we have a lot of indecision and chop on 140 from the past. And then we had a wick that went all the way up to 140 back in June. And then we didn't see 140 again until what, October? What is this? Yeah, October. So yeah, 140 is what I'm looking at. We break 140. I'm looking at about 145 to 147.50. That will give NVIDIA a new all-time high. So I'm thinking this week we could see NVIDIA with new all-time highs. Again, that means Taiwan Semiconductor will be moving up there as well. And I think it's regardless of who wins, if you ask me. That's just what I'm thinking. That is not based on any technical analysis, but that's just based on my overall view of the market. This is a bull year. I just can't see us crashing back out because of who's the president. Not yet. Again, first quarter 2025, yeah, is going to look a little different. But going into the end of the year, I think we're good to go. I don't think policies really take effect. And then you also have the Feds with interest rates. So it's, a lot going into it. But I think NVIDIA, we could see NVIDIA around 140, 145 from what I'm charting now. Any questions on NVIDIA? All righty. Celsius. Let me get this out of the way. This is just for me. I like to look at it right now. I'm looking at a 35% move for Celsius, but it's going to take some time. You can see how far I have this stretched out. I will redraw this later, but Celsius, they have earnings Wednesday. What a day to have earnings. A day after the election and a day before the Feds talk about interest rates. So Celsius has been consolidating since August. So from August all the way to October, Celsius has been consolidating. So it looks like we could be in for a move to the upside. You can also see that we do have some bullish divergence that's taking us to the upside. And Celsius just made a $75 million, they call it a power move, but they just bought a company for $75 million. And it's going to help them with their overall supply and innovation as far as supply chain and logistics. And they have larger warehouses, and it allows them just to have more control over what they're doing and how they want to do it. And it looks like they got a price target upgrade to about $58. So I'm thinking that right now we could see Celsius back at about $60. That's what I was looking at, anywhere between $54 to $60 on a move back to the upside. The RSI is at 42, pointing up. Stochastics is really low. And then you look at that ATR, the ATR is around a historically low bounce point. So we got bounces here, you got rejections here, was the bounce to the opposite side. You have a bounce here, and we may get another bounce there. So first level I'm looking at for the bounce to the upside would be around 3 on the ATR. We also could see a 3.5, and after that, I would be looking around right here at about a 4.15. That could change if you're in the Discord, because I'm going to be trying the indicator that Yvonne gave to me for the ranges. But that's what I'm seeing for Celsius. Now, is it going to come from earnings? I'm not saying that, but I have been loading up on Celsius shares. I'm probably going to buy some more tomorrow to add to my long-term portfolio, because when you look at it again, Celsius has 275 million cash with only 59 million in debt. So they're not going to go out of business. They have too much money. Well, I mean, now they have about 200 million. They just spent 75 million on the company. So I was just saying that they need to deploy that cash in a smart way. So 75 million on buying a company that's going to help them with their logistics is a really smart move. And it's a really smart way to use cash. So Celsius, long term, is on my watch list. And again, a lot of bullish divergence is happening with the RSI. So keep an eye out for Celsius. And again, they do have earnings Wednesday, and I'm in for the long ride. Even beyond 50, I'm really looking at a level. What is that level? No, this level right here. I'm really aiming for 70, but we'll see. But I think this is a great opportunity to grab Celsius shares at a low, at about $30 a share, and then you can sell at 50, 70, and 90, moving to the upside. Do I have any questions on Celsius? You could also grab some leaps if you don't want to grab shares. You grab leaps, you hold them for a year, 2 years, and you can avoid heavy tax on the shares. Instead of paying 30, 40%, you could pay 10, 15%, depending on your tax bracket. So, but yep, if I don't have any other questions, I'm going to the next one. The next one, ASML. So ASML, this one had a major drop here. They went all the way down. They went all the way down to 671. Right now they're at 674. But I do think that we could see a pop back up to this range right here between 840 to 866. Show you 840 to 866 to the upside. We also have really, and again, I'm thinking more long-term with this one. I'm not seeing any extreme spikes in volatility. Again, this week it could happen because we have a lot of major events, but you have 29 on the RSI. You also have it consolidating candle-wise. It's starting to, these candles are starting to shrink, and it's starting to figure out its way back up. I think 720 is the first sign that we're going to be resurfacing. Also, if you look at the MACD, it's starting to weaken. You can see that we have a lot of pink on that MACD or crossover back to the upside. And then the stochastics is at 7 out of 100. And also this ATR is at a bounce or near a bounce point. So ATR average bounce point is around in this area. And it looks like the ATR is getting around that area. If it drops back down to about 30, we could see a bounce that takes the ATR back up to 35, potentially 40. I don't think 40, but we'll pay attention to it. And again, this could change on the ATR when I use the new indicator. All right, any questions? Alrighty.
These contracts are so expensive, LJ. Would that be something like a short trade or a day trade on these? Or I know.
Yeah, so if I'm day trading this one, I would wait until it picks up volatility. So this one has just been kind of moseying around like the 675 to 700. So there's not really going to be any pops or spikes unless there's some news that comes with it. I was thinking shares. If you're thinking options, then yeah, I wouldn't play any puts, in my opinion. I would play calls, and then I would watch them weekly or bi-weekly because they are expensive. It is a former $1,000 stock, still expensive at $700. So I would look again, weekly, bi-weekly is what I would be looking at. And then I mean, if you do decide to go for a leap, you may want to look at like 1,000 to 1,100, 1,200 for a leap. Those could be a little bit cheaper because they're about $400 out the way. Does that help you, Vaughn?
Yeah, cool.
All righty, last one, Meta. So this one I've been saying all year, this is going to be a good one for the election because no matter what, Meta is going to win the election because how are they going to reach you? Right, Meta reaches 3.5 billion people on the planet. There's about 8 billion people, so about 40%, 43% of the people on the planet, somewhere around there, has a Meta product. WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, you name it, they're under Meta's umbrella. And I think that's where the politicians have been spending most of their money to campaign and to reach out to their to donors and people who they want to vote for them. So I think that we could hear some news or report about how many campaign dollars went to social media. And I think that once we get that information, we can see a spike for Meta as well, because I'm pretty sure they spent a lot of money on social media because you have people that watch the news, but people watch social media more than anything. The phone is right in their hand. You can watch it while you're driving. Unfortunately, you can watch it while you're with family, sitting down, moving, whatever. You can pay attention to social media. So I think that Meta, especially for its next quarter, we get to see how they deployed that cash. And I think that right now, regardless of whoever wins, but I do think if it turns blue, if the election is won by Kamala, I think that Meta could see a spike to the upside. And the only reason I'm saying this is because we have a lot of times where Trump is talking about fake news. And then that's going to lead a lot of people to question Meta and fact checking things and, so on and so forth. So I'm thinking that if the election is blue, Meta should be moving up. If the election is red, Meta could be moving down because of, again, just the different policies that they put forth, in my opinion. So this is one to pay attention to. Also, it has been on the downtrend, but it looks like it is sitting around its support. If it breaks support, then it could be dropping down around to 530. If Meta's at 530, that's an easy steal. Meta is a $700 stock, if you ask me. It was just at around 600. Eventually, it's going to break that 600. But I think Meta, this week, we're going to see some volatility from Meta. We can also see on the ATR that volatility is starting to spike. It's starting to increase. And again, the ATR as a reminder, doesn't tell us which direction the volatility is going in. So this could be volatility could increase, stock could be going down, or the stock could be going up. So this is something to pay attention to. Do I have any questions on Meta?
Yeah, what happened after earnings?
Yeah, after earnings, let me see. Meta beat their earnings, but I think that I think the move was already built into the earnings. Like, I don't think that they could have went up anymore. When I looked at earnings, I was choosing between Meta and Microsoft, and I said, Microsoft is at about 440. I'm gonna go with Microsoft. I was definitely looking at Meta, but when I looked at the contracts, it was $1,000 per contract, and the contract expired in like 2 or 3 days. So I'm like, $1,000 contract for 2 or 3 days is not worth it. I'm glad I didn't go with it. The contract I was looking at went from a little bit over $1,000 to about $80 overnight. So I was just like, yeah, glad I didn't go with that one. I did go with the Microsoft, which Microsoft did pull back, but it only pulled back like 3%, I want to say. And then the following day, it pulled back a little bit more. I want to say about 4.5 to 5%. But that contract was on like $190. And that one was shot to zero as well, but still better than going from $1,000 to $80. But yeah, so I think that the move was already built in. I mean, Meta has been on a crazy run the entire year, and I think this is the last earnings. Yeah, if we go from earnings to earnings, this earnings right here in July, Meta was at 460. This earnings, Meta's at 560. So $100 run in between earnings. I mean, unless they said something spectacular, I think that a pullback was necessary anyway. I was just too excited about the stock. Again, I didn't jump in, but I almost did. But I think that's what happened with earnings. $100 run up. What more can you ask for between earnings, right? Does that answer the question for you, Vaughn?
Yeah, I had Microsoft, but I went a little out, and so I have a December expiration date. So I'm hoping it comes back because it's down.
Yeah, and it pulled back. It wasn't a major blowout, but it definitely pulled back. Yep, it pulled right back to around this support. That is a major support area. At 410, it was at what, 440 before earnings? It was at 438. Let me see. Yeah, yep, had a pullback from earnings, and I mean, they beat earnings as well. Again, I'm thinking that it's the outlook. I said that before earnings is that Microsoft is going to be earnings, not worried about that, but what is going to be the outlook? The outlook is going to save everything. And I think the outlook was a little weaker than everybody thought it would be. And that's why I pulled back. But I think this is a good opportunity to pay attention to it. So if it runs back up to 430, 440, which I think it will, then that's another opportunity to go ahead and take profit or hop out. All righty. Any other questions? What time do we have? About 7:15. All right, cool. So let me look in the chat, see if we got any stocks. We got Microsoft. We just went over Microsoft. Let me see if we got Microsoft on the weekly. So if you look at Microsoft on the week, the bear divergence actually worked. It had a pullback. What was that? In August. All right, so it did work. But looking at it now, we still have that pending MACD crossover to the upside. If I zoom in some, let me reset this. Pending MACD crossover to the upside. ATR looks like it's going to climb back as far as volatility. We got 54 on the stochastics and it's climbing. And then we just got more consolidation. If we look at these candles, yeah, even on the week, it's still green. You can see that it moved $4 in 1 week, even though it had a pullback from earnings. So it's still green, but it looks like it is trying to figure out which way it wants to go. It's building up energy. And again, I still think that a move to the upside. If it tests 140, I mean, I said 140. If it tests 440 again, I'm thinking that we get a break because it tested it 1, 2, and we get a third test. I'm thinking we're getting through it and moving to the upside.
Do you think that looks like a Head and Shoulders?
Here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Head and Shoulders already played, unless the Head and Shoulders drops you here.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
So this is shoulder 1, head. This could be shoulder 2. I would watch. Where is it at? 410. Where is this at? What is that? 420. I don't know why my candle was. Oh, okay. It's giving me the reading. All right. Yeah. So it is at 410 right here in the red. I forgot these candles are giving me a different reading. So 410 right here in the red. The average is 421. And as long as it stays, what is this at the bottom? Yeah, 410 is actually the make or break point. So if it holds 410 on these bottom wicks, then we should be moving back up to 420. If not, then it could drop 10 bucks down to about 400. But if it drops down 10 bucks to 400, then that means that the potential inverted or the potential head and shoulders would be complete. And then it should be ready to move back to the upside, because I don't think we're getting down to 375. I don't think we're going to see any 370s for Microsoft for a while, but we could have a 10 again, depending on, we got the Feds, we got the election, depending on what happens this week. We can see it back up to 440, or we can see it back down to 400 for a $10 pullback. And this is looking at the weekly, so it may take a little bit of time. But if we look at all the other indicators, it looks like everything is climbing. 51 on the RSI, Pendamacti crossover. And then the ATR momentum is building up. Stochastics momentum is building up. And we'll have to see. Any other questions, Yvonne?
Nope, that's it. Just coin was the other ticker.
Yep. Coin. Ooh. All right. Coin on the weekly. Right now it is at 182. The average for it is what, 199. There's been some bearish divergence, which we can see that it's been trending down here. It came down to about 147. It bounced up. And then we have this Pendamacti crossover, which is extremely close to popping. So if we get another pop, I would watch Bitcoin. If Bitcoin moves up again one more time, we could go back up to 190, 200, and then continue the run up to about 260. Also, we can see the stochastics is at 62 for a move to the upside. And then that ATR is trying to stabilize and get some more momentum to the upside, it looks like. So again, it looks like that MACD is what I would be watching. We already had the bearish divergence play out. This is still a giant. Now, I mean, really, the whole thing, it looks like an inverted head and shoulders. You got shoulder 1, head, shoulder 2. But we need to test that 250, 260 range that we haven't tested since, what, July? Yeah, we haven't tested that since July. So if we have a crypto fall or crypto winter, which I think that we will. And now that I think about it, this could be another one that's impacted by the election. For whichever candidate champions crypto and that are making promises on crypto, we could see more inflows into Coinbase or the other crypto-related stocks like Riot and Mara. Let me check the day. All right, so on the day, we did have a pullback from earnings. They missed on both. And we have 43 on the RSI pointing down. It looks like this is sitting around support. It did make a double bottom, actually. This W shape topped out around 215, 220 before we had this pullback from earnings. And it looks like if we get another pull back up to about 215, this is going to be an inverted head and shoulders. How do you get the bull and bear line? David, you can get that by turning this on the RSI. You just calculate divergence. And you may
Thank you.
need to update. Yeah, you may need to update your RSI. There's a little update that I have. Yeah.
Like I don't see it on mine. Is it calculate, right?
Yeah.
Calculate.
You don't see it?
Inputs, right? Oh, okay, never mind. Found it right now.
Okay, cool.
Input.
Well, yeah, so yeah, I had a pullback from earnings. And again, I would be paying attention to Bitcoin, but it looks like if we can hold around this 180 to 187 range and move back to the upside, we'll start to make this inverted head and shoulders. We make this inverted head and shoulders, the number to beat will still be 210 to 215, where we just rejected. We break 210 to 215. Next bump is 220. After 220, I think we fly up to 240, and then we gear up for that 250, 260 test that we haven't seen since July. So crypto has been a fight. Bitcoin has last week Bitcoin hit all-time highs at about 73, 74K, somewhere around there before pulling back. But again, with all the stuff that we have going on this week, it's going to be a wild ride for anything that's related to money, stocks, and crypto included. Yvonne, any other questions?
Yeah, I think I have this coin. I have also a December expiration, and let's just say it does start to rise.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that you would hold on to and just ride it out a little bit as we begin to go into the winter time for that particular option, or is it see profit, take profit?
That would be an option that I would roll. Remember we talked about rolling?
Okay.
That would be one I would roll, meaning take the profit, but I would stay in the trade. Of course, I would check my indicators first, but if I'm in profit, I would take that profit out. And then if it makes sense to continue the trade, I would roll it. If it does not, I'm just out of the trade with profits.
Okay. Because I'm down on that trade right now, especially after earnings. And so I got to wait for it to come back.
Yeah, so if it goes back up to 215, 220, you could just completely get out depending on what the profit percentage is. And if you decide not to get out, you also could roll, which would still tuck some profits for you.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
No problem. All righty. Let's see. We got some other stocks here that I can cover. What time is it? We're only at 7:23. Cool. All right. Let's look at AMKR. I think that is what Amcor Technology. Yep. I had a bit of Amcor a while back. I sold, I think at like 30. I bought at 26 and sold at about 35, I want to say. And I was holding they had a really nice dividend that I was collecting. So Amcor is pretty good. Yvonne, you had a question?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. All right. Amcor Technology. Reset my chart. They just had earnings. Surprise on revenue and a miss on earnings, but it's a small fraction of a miss. They did pull back. It looks like this is actually a support level for them. So they pulled all the way back to support. And if they go back up, they got a few levels actually to break through. Sheesh. 28 to 30. That's where I'll be watching, but they're sitting right on support. If they break any lower, we could see them down at 23. They were at 43 before earnings. I don't know what happened here. That's a nice beat on earnings at 19%. I guess they probably had a negative forecast or something like that dropped them. But if you like Amcor for its dividends, then I think that this could be a good opportunity to buy them on the low. Again, they could drop about $3 more to 23. Also, the stochastics is pretty low at 11. ATR is pretty low around its average bounce point. ATR could get anywhere up to what 2 to 1.8 for those if you're using the ATR. But yeah, earnings set them back. And I think that this could be a good opportunity for either a leap or just accumulating shares. You can see that the RSI on the daily is at about 29, meaning that it may take a second for investors to be comfortable with grabbing up shares, which could be a nice opportunity for you.
Thanks.
Any more questions about AMKR, David?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Cool, no problem. All right, let's look at QCOM. All right, this is a dangerous one because Apple is moving away from them. They also have earnings, Wednesday, right in between, again, the day after the election and the day before the Feds. What a day to have earnings. So after the Apple news, of course, they pulled back. So I'm thinking that the forecast moving forward could be bad because, I mean, Apple is, if you have Apple as a client, Apple's going to want it all, and Apple's probably going to give you the most money. And if Apple says that they have plans to back out of the deal at some point, now you need to find, there may be a hole on your balance sheet, or you may need to find another company of Apple. Well, you're not going to find another company of Apple size unless you're going with NVIDIA or Microsoft. But yeah, I would be careful with this one. I would just wait to see what else is going to happen, especially because they have earnings coming up so soon. But if they do drop, I see them dropping to right here, about 154. They drop down to 154. I think that would be a better buy point for a move back to the upside. And if they move back up to the upside, I'm looking at 170 to 180 as I move to the upside. But right now, it looks like they're down. And again, Apple, Apple leaving your ecosystem is never a good sign for investors.
Bad for business. Yep.
Yeah. Any questions about QCOM?
No. Thank you. But I'm looking to buy for a long term.
Right. Yeah. Long term, I mean, they can always recover. You can always patch that up. But right now, investors are going to be a little shaken until they hear from the C-suite about, what to do moving forward.
Yeah.
All right. Lithium Americas. All right. This bullish divergence was right.
On the market.
Yeah, they've been on a run. Where are they at? They're about $2. So they pretty much doubled. This is support for them. They have another level of resistance at about $5, and then they have a major level at about $6 right here. I would say a high point could be $7, an extreme high point. I mean, if you get a run on EVs, you could see this area here at about $10. But I don't know if that's going to be a clean shot. I think right now it's at 427. I'm thinking that again, $6 to $7 is what I would be paying attention to as a move to the upside. But of course, the RSI is screaming on the daily. Stochastics is kind of mellowing out. Let's look at the 1 week. Look at the 1 week. Yeah, the 1 week, the stochastics RSI is pretty much pinned to the top. So it's going to need to pull back at some point. Also, that ATR is low. So this is a good example of when the ATR is low. So the ATR is telling us the volatility is low, but it also is not telling us which side the stock is going to move once the volatility picks back up. But that stochastics is giving us clear direction that it's sitting at 100. And once this starts to cool off and pull to the downside, the stock is going to come back to the downside. So that spike on the ATR is probably going to be because the stock is actually pulling back. So again, I'm still looking at $6 to $7 as a move to the upside, but with the crazy run that it just had, you want to watch out for the pullback, which could be a buying opportunity.
Because I'm in it till June next year.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, for a long one. Yeah,
Yeah. You
it's,
got
it's cheap, so I got in.
Yeah. Nice. Yep. So, you got it of June until next year. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, you can just hold,
Okay.
and just pay attention.
All right. Thank you.
No problem. All righty. It looks like we don't have any other questions or stocks in the chat. So, what I'll do, since we don't have Mark to cover the pattern, we can close shop down a little early. What is it?
Sorry, I have a
7?
question.
Sure.
So what's going on? All the earnings popping up this week, like almost 600 and something. I'm just saying, almost 600 and something. Earnings coming up this week.
You said almost 600. What now?
No, I'm just my estimate. Almost 600 of earnings coming up this week. A lot of earnings.
Oh yeah, yeah, yep.
Like,
Earnings. Yeah,
geez, that's a
yeah,
lot.
yep. This is earnings season. It happens.
Yeah,
It happens every 3 months. So
the
yeah,
the most is on Thursday. Like,
yeah, with
geez,
the
everything
Fed.
is piling up. Yeah, that's a lot.
Yep. So yeah, this is earnings season continues. So yeah, again, crazy week. I forgot to even mention that. So yeah, we have an election, we have the Feds, and we have a batch of earnings
Shit.
coming out. So probably going to be the craziest week of
Yeah,
the year, in my opinion. Earnings,
it is.
Feds, and the election all in one week, all in what, 5 days.
5 days. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll be heavy in the Discord. I'm actually
Okay.
off of work after Tuesday. So I work
Okay.
Monday, Tuesday, and the rest of the week I'm off.
Okay.
So I'll be live charting and live trading Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So
Okay.
yeah, if anybody has
What time?
questions,
From what time?
I'll just be on and off like just
Okay.
throughout the day. Like I'll just
Okay.
hop in, hop out, and then if anyone needs a specific time, I can hop in. Again,
All right.
I'm off those days, so yeah,
Okay.
just
Thank
let
you.
me know.
So I saw something about the antitrust regulators going after the most of the companies in S&P 500. Is that true?
Yeah, but I mean, they always do that. That
Okay.
like I've been trading for a while, and I mean, it's kind of their job. Their job is to just make sure that these trillion-dollar companies don't become monopolies. I don't think they're doing a good job at it, but
Yeah.
that's kind of what they get paid. They get paid to just throw
To do
lawsuits
it.
at these companies to see if they're going to pay them. And you're going to hear them about Amazon, about Apple, about Google, about Meta, and then you're going to hear them being settled for, I don't know, 50 million, 100 million, which is nothing to a $1 trillion company. So
Sure.
I wouldn't even worry too much about these
Okay.
antitrust.
Okay.
It happens all the time.
Okay. I thought when all these things happening affects the stocks and the shit like that.
Nah.
Okay.
Again, I was when I first started trading, Microsoft was at like 180, and it's like
Oh,
4
yeah.
something now. So it's like, and they've been having a whole bunch of antitrust lawsuits all the way up, and it never stopped them. So yeah, it happens.
Thank you.
No problem. Cool. All righty. Like I said, I'll go ahead and close shop early. So we can go ahead and get this recording loaded to YouTube for those that missed the beginning of it. If you have any questions, let me know, and I will see you either in the Discord or I will see you next Sunday.
All right, boss. Thank you. Have a good one, everyone.
All right, you do the same, David.